Okay. Hopefully, third time is a charm. I am actually using a completely different piece of software. So I'm hoping that this live goes off better than using YouTube's um, platform. Going to keep my fingers crossed that that people find me here. Okay. Oh, okay. Yay, Selkie. Hi, Debbie. Hi. Yeah, YouTube software, Tangy. Hi. Um, yeah, YouTube software is not working for me. Every time I go live, it freezes. So I ended up having to use an alternative streaming software. So awesome. Thanks, Lady D. Yeah, this Goatsark is here. Steven, awesome. Come on in, guys. Come on in. Yeah, I really wanted to do this live. Book White, hi, hun. I was hoping you would find it with the alternate streaming software. So I'm so happy to see everybody here. Um, yeah. So wow. Come on. There we go. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and start, unless I keep screwing up my. I'm looking down here because I have my phone, and this is how I'm seeing the chat. So, um, hi Willow Green. Okay, so perfect time to start. I'm kind of glad that my um, I guess my chat yesterday kind of got interrupted by the blowing up of the internet. And in a way, I'm kind of glad because I really was not in a good frame of mind yesterday, and I didn't really realize what was going on until this morning. So, and that often happens. Um, when it comes to the first of the month, like the first and second of the month, the automatic thought is I'm one more month without my Andy. And it's hard. And so yesterday, the weekend, it was a hard weekend. And the thing about grief is your body knows it before your mind does. So your body reacts before your brain can figure out why am I feeling like this. I was so emotionally exhausted yesterday that when Simon initially called off Terathon, I was grateful, and I literally went to bed at that point. And I slept all through the night and then some because I didn't hear the alarm clock this morning, so I was late for work. And but then during the process of thinking about why am I so tired and what's going on, it's grief. It's the grief. It shows up in places that you don't expect it to, and that's going to happen for a long time. Um, but Pepper, Paper Poppet, hi, Green Terra, Green, that's a mouthful. Green Terra Tarot. Hi. So, as many of you know, you've followed me from the start, that I suddenly and unexpectedly lost the love of my life, my Andy. We were together for 17 years, and I lost him now 7 months ago. And in grieving, the first couple, 2 or 3 months, you just have mush brain. Nothing really gets in. But after that, I started looking for ways for the tarot to help me, because when I lost him, it was like my whole entire world imploded. Everybody also knows that I had some family issues to deal with. And if you want, I do have a grief playlist of all the things that have transpired. So I had that on top of it, and I was so confused and so out of it. So I went looking for tarot spreads, because at the time I really wasn't that familiar with doing like a freehand or freeform tarot spread, just kind of slinging cards. I had to have a spread to do something. So, I went looking all over the internet, and there is there is like nothing out there for grief. I turned to my books, and the two books I had that were somewhat helpful was this one, 365 Tarot Spreads by my friend Sasha Graham. Sasha has one in here, and it was on the 6th of September, but it's I'll show you there. It's accepting loss, and I wasn't ready to do that yet. I'm still not in the time frame of accepting loss. I'm not there yet. So this spread can't be done. Um, Same thing with her other book. She had another one that's 365 Tarot Spells. And she had a wonderful thing in here, a meditation about walking with the Queen of Pentacles. But again, it's an accepting loss spread. And I'm not accepting loss. I'm still grieving. I haven't got to that acceptance point yet. And so I started thinking to myself, well, God, what am I going to do? So I grabbed my tarot cards, and I simply just shuffled and shuffled and shuffled, and I said, I'm lost. What do I do? And so I pulled three cards, and from there I did that every day until I started to feel like my life was somewhat coming back together again. Because when you're in that headspace of grief, you're so distraught that you don't know what to do, and you have to do the regular life daily things, pay your bills, and I was lucky. I didn't have to go to work. I had plenty of time. I had plenty of vacation on the books, and so I had the time to take off, so I didn't have to worry about that. But I still had to pay bills, and at that time I was still taking care of my stepdad, so I was still doing all of that, and then handling all the arrangements for my Andy and everything. And so tarot kept me focused and on track. And so that's what I ended up doing. I ended up using the cards, like I said, every day, going, okay, what next? What do I do now? And as the days progressed and they got better, I felt better, or the grief was not as high. It was more like, okay, now my whole life has shifted here. Okay, so the individual that was a part of your life, integral part of your life, is no longer there. That changes your whole life path. It for me, the love of my life, that literally took away everything. It was like, what do I do now? And it was like, who am I now? Who am I without him? So I had to start focusing on that as well. And then, like I said, there were family issues. And so I ended up having to move, and I'm no longer taking care of my stepdad. But it was one of those things where everything was just gone. And I'm literally like starting from scratch going, okay, what do I do? And every day I would shuffle. Sometimes I would shuffle for 15, 20 minutes before I pulled cards, but it was, you know, it was very good, and it was a daily practice that kept me focused, and the cards kept me moving forward, because they would tell me things. The cards would say to me, you're on the right track, you're doing the right thing. There were days where the cards would say to me, you need to be resting. You need to be, I would get a lot of Four Swords cards, rest. You need to take the time out to take care of yourself and rest. I got that card a lot. And that was so important, because if the cards had not told me that, I don't know that I would have taken care of myself as much as I did while all of this was going on. So yeah, and I wish I could tell you what decks I used, but I really can't, because one of the issues with having what they call widow's brain is that literally your brain is mush. It's like when I moved in back into the witch house, it took me 3 months to move back in, and I have been here about let's see, 3 months now, and sometimes I look back and I think to myself, I have no idea how I got here. I mean, I literally have no idea how all my stuff got here, my furniture got here, how I cleaned out the house. It's like all a blur, absolute blur, which I'm grateful for, because I think that's the brain's way of preserving the the shock and the devastation that occurs with something like that. So I'm gonna take a second, because I can see the chat scrolling, and I'm gonna have a look and see what you guys are saying here for a bit. So yay, Hecate, Ninan, Johnny. Hi, Johnny. I'm so glad you're here, sweetheart. Uh, Yeah, grieving, exactly, Book White. I was grieving the future we would have had. It's like, you're supposed to be here for this. What do I do now? But the tarot was very comforting. Um, oh, aquamarine. Yes, the arrangements are a lot. Um, yes, arrangements are a lot. Now, speaking of arrangements, hi, Misty. Um, speaking of arrangements, Andy and I were not married, and that was by choice. So it was extra complicated when I had to go to his children to take care of all the legal things, because legally I really couldn't do anything for him. So I had to reach out to his kids, and fortunately, they were so nice and so good that they, told the hospitals and the doctors and everybody else to just turn everything over to me, and that I would take care of everything and handle it. So, yeah, but those are things you have to be prepared for. But I talk about that in my grief videos. So if you haven't done that, I do have a playlist all about grief. where you can follow me literally from the day I had to take him off life support right up until this moment now. But tarot has been, like I said, every day pulling cards. How am I doing? Or where am I going? Or what should I do? I don't even know if those are the best questions to ask because I'm not very proficient yet on the right way to ask the questions of the tarot. But I was getting answers with those questions because I was just so distraught. I couldn't, I couldn't really focus on forming a correct question. I could barely function as it was. So, yeah, I pulled cards and I did that for a long time, even moving in the witch house. I still pull a daily card, but I don't have to pull about what I need to do anymore. With the exception of, I do use, I love this. I love this deck so much. This is the Healers, what is it? Healers of the Earth Oracle. Healers of the Earth Oracle. And I have used this one for healing work in myself. So I use this one separately from the tarot cards that I had been using to ask the questions of what do I do now. I use this deck for more internal questions about healing my broken heart or the emotional distress I am going through. And this deck is very uplifting. It is very soft and gentle. And this deck also uses the back of the cards. And so with the back, I could tell if I was tapping into the universal collective with my energy and my emotions, or if it was a personal thing. It's a really great deck. If you don't have it, I really suggest you get it. And she just recently came out with a borderless edition as well. So, yeah. Anyways, after all of that, I went back to looking on the internet to see what I could find. And I actually finally found a grief spread. And it's like, boy, I could have used this when I was going through stuff, but it wasn't out there at the time. So this is a good spread, I think, to try. I held it up there so you can, hold and stop. Does anybody have any questions for me here? 32 people, yeah. So, yeah, anybody got any questions? Ooh. So, yeah, and I have just recently started really getting back into tarot again. You should see the desk in my library because I have I'm going through this grieving process and the decks just keep arriving because, I'm the Kickstarter queen. And so the decks just keep coming and I just keep piling them up and piling them up. So I'm working on getting through those. But yes, I would definitely use your tarot decks and just ask them things about moving forward. Where do I go from here? What do I need to think about now? what direction should my life take? Um, Trying to think, because it's hard for me to think back to that time period. I was so distraught, so distraught. And um, one other point is that I actually saw it in the tarot cards. Several days I pulled cards, and I got notices that this was happening, but I assigned those things that I saw to my stepdad. I thought something devastating was going to happen to him, and unfortunately that was not the case. And so I don't know. Now sometimes I question reading for myself, especially in big events like that, because sometimes you think, could I have changed it? But I know personally I could not have. The tower moment would have occurred no matter what. And those are just things that we have to accept happen in life, whether we like them or not. And so, yeah. But this was one time where I got it wrong. So, anyways, oh, you want to see a photo of Andy? Okay. Um, I'm trying to think if I have. I don't really have one of him easily at my fingers, because I've taken all my photos. Those are the last things going up in the witch house, is the photos. The stuff you see here on the walls are things that my Andy had hanging up here. So but I tell you what, I'll do that on my channel. I'll find a picture of Andy, and I'll show you guys what Andy looks like. So do you think, okay, so Ancient Voices, do you think that card use will help you know how to assist others at time of similar loss? I think so, yes, absolutely. I think you can help someone through this. Obviously, it is better if you have been through something like this yourself, because you understand it. But I think you just need to learn the right questions to ask the cards, so that you get them the right information. That's the thing. Is getting them the right information from the cards, asking the right questions. And I'm going to think about that some more, because I may make a list of questions that you can ask the cards as a healing process, or moving forward from grief, or with grief, moving forward with grief, because this is going to hang around. Grief hangs around a long time, a very, very long time. I am in a group where they say the second year is the harder than the first. And so, yeah, grief is a long journey, and everybody faces it differently. So, good question, Ancient Voices. I'm gonna compile some questions I think are appropriate to ask the cards to help someone move on who's grieving, or who needs that. Also, I will say that I know there are several people in our community who do what's called bereavement readings. And of course, the brain was mush when I got mine. But yes, I do know there are folks out there in our community that do bereavement readings for people who have lost loved ones. So that might be something else to search out. I didn't think to do that. I had a good friend of mine who does bereavement readings, so she did that for me as well. Um, Anything else? Good night, Ricky. Thanks, Selkie. Thanks for all the love, you guys. I really appreciate it. Yeah. Green Terra Tarot. You tend to be too emotionally attached to see something that big, in my opinion. You know what? You are absolutely right. You are absolutely right. Unless you are just amazingly objective about reading your own cards, a huge event like that is definitely something that you're not going to catch. Or if you do, you may assign it to something else like I did, and then get double surprised when that's not what the thing was. Um, so yeah, Aquamarine 18. I've so wanted to ask the cards how to be supportive, but feel weird about it. Instead of asking, "Hey, what do you need right now?" to the person directly. Well, yeah, definitely going to the person. I thought you were talking about reading the cards for that individual who is grieving, and giving, having the cards give them some idea of their next steps. So, um, Erica, how did the message make you feel? The grief reading, did it give you some release? It did. It did. As a matter of fact, it was kind of funny because it was one of my best friends who gave me the reading. And as she was throwing down the cards, she's throwing down cards, and we're looking at each other, and she's like, "Well, you know this," and I'm like, "Yes." And then she throws down more cards, and we're like, "Okay, we can't make this stuff up," because you know everything that she was telling me in this reading were things I already knew, and I wanted more. And sometimes, unfortunately, you don't get more. There's no more to be had. You've received the things that you need, and so in that respect, it was a good reading, and it was a validating reading for me to know how he was and how I was going to be. So yes, I thought it was, excuse me, I thought it was very very relieving indeed. So let's see. Oh, okay. Alrighty, let's see. Yeah, it was very lovely to have the closure. And then, so I wasn't worried about him. I was more worried about me. It's like, what's my life going to be like? Where am I going? What am I doing? What next? Kind of issue. And so, yeah, that was my concern. What happens to me? What happens to my life? And for the first couple of months I've been in the house here, that question is still kind of up in the air. But the cards keep telling me that you're okay. Everything's okay, and it's going according to plan. And I've even had other friends do readings for me just to make sure that because like you said, with grief, sometimes reading your own cards is not the best thing. And so I've had others read cards for me that have validated that the most important thing right now is still just to rest and take care of myself. I don't have to be a ball of energy. I don't have to do and go. You know, my life still has a purpose, and just in it, just in being. I need some time to just be. I guess that's it, and to sit with it. So good night, Selkie. Thanks for being here, hun. So, wow, I've only been on about 30 minutes. And I have 30 more minutes to go. Oh, gosh, you guys. Oh, my lovely Donna. Thank you, sweetheart. I appreciate that so much. I just may have you do that. You never know. Um, So, yeah, I have to admit the community is really short on grief readings. I think that's something that we need to work on, is that, you know, there's a lot of readings out there for loss. You know, the loss of a spouse, or not a spouse, but a loss of a relationship, or a loss of a love, even a loss of a pet. But there's nothing out there for those of us who are just absolutely grief stricken. And grief is a much harder and deeper emotion than loss. And grief will cut you to the core, and it takes a lot longer to come out of grief than it does to come out of just a loss of a relationship, um, you know, kind of situation. So I think we need to get better at creating things like grief spreads or doing bereavement readings, because I'm finding out just how much is not out there for people regarding this subject. Um, Fortunately, death has always been discussed in our household, so it's never been a taboo subject. But in lots of other households, people just do not talk about these things. And when a spouse dies and the wife or the husband is left, they often don't know about the checkbook or insurance or anything, because the other spouse has taken care of all of that stuff. And so it makes grieving and having to make those arrangements and things extra hard. Um, but we need to talk about death more. And I think we need to talk about death and tarot, and the healing process that can be provided with tarot, and you know, ways to move forward with grief. um, I think those are important things we need to talk about and maybe look into. Maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe I'll start trying to create some spreads that people can use to help them along this journey. um, I think a lot of people, um, let's see. Uh, okay. Oops. Hold on. I'm looking at comments here. Um, yes, maybe tie in bereavement readings with my chakra work. Yes, ancient voices. That's a good idea. Because let me tell you, I did chakra work on myself just to try and hold the train together. Um, Donna, Ozark Oracle, do you think you would ever seek help from a medium? That's a good question. And I haven't. That thought has not even come into my mind. Um, because I know he's okay. I know he's okay. And so that's not something I need. Um, he gives me little signs, though, things that show up. Um, You know, it's like if anybody's friends with me, you know, there was a day I was in Walmart crying over corn on the cob. You know, that's Andy's, you know, to me, that's a sign that he's with me at that time. Um, you know, that's one of the things we both loved is corn on the cob, and he would make it, you know, every year the first batch, and here I am standing in Walmart blubbering like an idiot in front of the, you know, corn on the cob station. So, yeah, I don't think I would ever go to a medium. I don't think it's something I need to do because I know he's okay. It's just like with my mom. I know she's okay too. So, Erica, did he come into your dreams? Both of my mom's parents came into her dreams days after they passed. You know, I, as a general rule, do not dream. So I have never, I've never dreamed about him. No, that hasn't happened at all. Um, so, yeah, Johnny, I know you lost your parents, honey. I'm so sorry. You were so young too when that happened. So, but your granny takes good care of you. I'm glad you got your granny still. So that's good. Okay. Marg Richer. How about some tarot rituals for the spreads as well? That's an idea also. I was lucky enough that my best bud, soul sister, Jennifer Willowin, the Thrifty Witch, she did a ritual for me for my bereavement, which you can also find on my playlist as well. So yeah, she did that for me, and I appreciated it so much. Um, oh, hi Valerie, and the moon loves me. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Lady D, my dad lived with me the last 6 years of his life, and I cried a lot at the grocery store because we would grocery shop together. That was the first thing I did. The first thing I had to get over was going to the grocery store. There are a lot of those firsts when you end up having to continue your life and you go to the same places that you went to with that loved one. And it brings up a lot of emotions to be there without them. And so that was very hard, very, very hard. But I'm glad that I pushed myself to actually do it fairly quickly after he passed to kind of like have it done, to have it done. So, good night, Claire. Yeah, Tar Apple. Mama Squirrel is pretty awesome. Um, yep. Okay. Yep. So, yeah, actually, there are pagan rituals out there in some pagan books. I've been gathering books about pagan death and dying. I've also been looking into things like, you know, Tibetan books of death and dying, all different cultures on how, if they have any customs or rituals or things. And that's what Jen did. I think part of the ritual was hers, but a lot of things I noticed that she got out of books. And so it was a combination of both things. And definitely could offer a ritual to someone who's grieving, as well as a tarot spread for sure, definitely. So, oop. Oh, your mom's still alive, Johnny. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought she passed away too. Oh, well, I'm glad your mom's still alive. Good for, yeah, that's good. Kendra's spiritual journey. And I got to come out to tarot stock next year. It looked like a lot of fun. It did. And originally, I was planning on being at Tarot Stock before this happened. So yeah, I was making plans to go to Tarot Stock, and yeah, then the bottom fell out. So, um, any more questions, guys? I'm up to 40 minutes, and I'm afraid I've run out of things to say because when it comes to tarot and grief, there really is not, like I said, there isn't a whole lot out there. So we got to start maybe pushing to get people to incorporate those things into their business practices because death definitely needs to be talked about. All of us are going to be touched by it at one time or another in our lives because nobody lives forever. And the people left behind really need that help and support when grief occurs due to the death of a loved one. So maybe think about creating your own spreads. What questions would, okay, so ancient voices, what questions would I ask now? Well, I wouldn't really be asking any questions about him, but I would ask a question of, because there are some days where I'm like, am I really doing what I'm supposed to be doing? You know? Or I will pick up the cards and I will say, what is your wisdom for me today? What is your wisdom for me today? And just leave it open for them to tell me what they think I need to hear. For me, asking a question is has been really difficult. So I'm actually looking forward to going back and watching Supportive Tarot's uh, live cast as well as Kelly Fitzgerald about questions. What are the questions? Um, because that's probably one of my weakest points is asking the right questions. I consider myself lucky that I was getting good answers from the tarot, but I think if I had asked better questions, who knows, I could have got, even better answers. So, uh, Kendra's spiritual journey. Is there any cards that were particularly helpful for you during your grief? Let me think. Well, honestly, that Four of Swords was huge. It really was. It was huge to just rest because I would not have. I would have tried to, I'm the Leo. We're going to just forward march no matter what. Forward march, suck it up, and you're going to do all the things and everything, and you'll fall apart later. That's my general mindset. But when I started working with the cards and I continued to get the Four of Swords, I was like, okay, I can't do it this time. This time I'm being told I need to take it easy. I need to rest. I need to look out for me. So, yeah, I would say the Four of Swords is very, I'm very partial to that card. Green Terra Tarot. What decks are you finding work the best for your grieving process? I would definitely say it's a softer deck. It would not be the time that I would reach for a dark deck. This would be the time that I would reach for definitely something on the lighter side. I know I was using my Alana Fairchild Oracle decks. Some of them are, Kuan Yin Oracle I was using during this process. I'm trying to think what other decks I had, but my brain is just I can't remember which ones I was using, but I know I had the Halloween Oracle, the Halloween Tarot, and it's not it's not dark. It's a cutesy fun deck, but yeah, definitely you want to use decks that are kinder and gentler, and if they have something to say, they're going to be firm, but they're going to be gentle about it, because the last thing you need is somebody up in your face, up in your grill saying, look, this is what you need to do. This what needs to happen. No, you need somebody who says, this is the best thing for you to do right now, because, you know, it's going to be easier on you, or it'll help you get through it easier. That kind of a soft voice is what you need. So hi Patricia, nice to see you, dear. Color of Dreams, welcome. Oh, Johnny, you're Gemini rising. All right. Wow. I think I'm Virgo rising, if I remember correctly. So, all right. Okay, guys. If it says I have 10 more minutes, but you know, if nobody has any more questions of any sort, I think I'm just going to end my live cast now, because I have nothing more to offer in the way of grief and tarot, other than it's something that needs to be talked about more often, definitely, and it needs to be talked about as a way to be used as a healing tool for people who are grieving. So I think that's most important. Oh, Heidi. Hi, honey. I'm just getting ready to kind of say goodbye here to everybody. Thank you so much for coming to my live. I really appreciate everybody here. I hope I gave you some useful information. And if you are grieving or sorrowful, or please do feel free to reach out to me. I am here to listen and to support you, and I will help you however I can, just by, you know, being there and letting you vent is usually a huge thing to somebody who's grieving. So that's another good takeaway from this. A grieving person doesn't need advice. They just need you to sit there and be with them and let them do what they need to do to feel better. Whether it's venting, crying on your shoulder, they just need a safe space to do that. And I was very fortunate that I had lots of people who let me do that. And I'm positive it contributed to the way I was able to move through things. So, with that said, I'm going to tell you guys all good night. Thank you so much. Mwah! Big chakra love to everybody. And we'll do it again soon. Good night, guys.